For over 2 decades, Richard Johnson arrived at the university before the sun even rose. While the world still slept, he mopped the long marble hallways, scrubbed classroom floors, and cleaned restrooms. Most days, no one noticed him. Students passed him without even saying hello. Professors never bothered to ask his name. To them, he was just a janitor. But Richard never minded. Every morning, as he pushed his mop across the cold tiles, he whispered a small dream to himself. "One day, my daughter will walk these halls, not as a janitor's daughter, but as a student. She won't be here to clean. She'll be here to learn." Richard held on to that dream tighter than anything else in his life. He had started working as a janitor at the university when his wife passed away suddenly. Their daughter, Maya, was just 3 years old then. Left with no savings and no education, Richard took the only job he could find, a janitor position at a place that felt far above where he belonged. But he never let that stop him. He had one goal: to raise Maya with everything he never had. At night, after working double shifts, Richard would sit beside his daughter and help her with her homework, even if he didn't understand all of it. "Education is your key, Maya," he'd say. "It's the one thing that can never be taken from you." Maya listened. She saw her father leave every morning before the sun came up. She saw how his hands became rough, how his back started to bend, how his eyes stayed tired. But she also saw something else: love. The purest kind. As Maya grew, so did her dreams. She wanted to become a doctor. Not for fame or money, but because she remembered the nights her father fell sick and still went to work. She wanted to heal people like him. She worked hard. Very hard. And Richard was always there, encouraging her, reminding her she was capable of anything. There were tough times. There were months when they didn't have enough money for both rent and food. Richard always chose to go hungry so Maya wouldn't. She never knew how many nights her father slept on an empty stomach. He never told her. He simply smiled and said, "I'm just tired, honey. Go to bed." Years passed. Maya grew into a brilliant young woman, and her dream of becoming a doctor didn't fade. In her final year of high school, she received a letter in the mail that changed everything. It was an acceptance letter from the same university her father had cleaned every day for 25 years. Tears filled Richard's eyes when he read it. All the years of quiet labor, of whispered prayers, of unseen sacrifices, they had brought them here. He hugged his daughter tight and whispered, "You've made me the proudest man alive." But things weren't easy after that. Tuition was expensive. Even with scholarships and financial aid, there were bills to pay. Maya offered to work part-time, but Richard wouldn't allow it. "You focus on your studies," he said. "Let me worry about the rest." He took on more shifts. He cleaned extra buildings. He even worked weekends, all while hiding his growing back pain and frequent coughs. He never let Maya see him struggle. To her, he was still the strongest man alive. And Maya? She never wasted his sacrifice. She studied harder than anyone else in her class. She stayed late in labs, spent weekends volunteering at hospitals, and always remembered the man who made it all possible. Finally, after years of dedication and sleepless nights, the day arrived. Graduation. The auditorium was packed. Families dressed in their best filled the rows. Flashing cameras, bouquets of flowers, loud cheers echoed in every corner. Maya stood backstage in her black gown and red stole, her heart beating fast. She clutched a letter in her hand. A letter she had written just the night before. Meanwhile, Richard arrived late. Not because he overslept, but because he had worked an early morning shift to make up for taking the afternoon off. He came in his janitor uniform. He didn't own a suit, but his shoes were clean, and he had combed his hair carefully. He sat in the back row, away from the crowd, hiding the pain in his knees as he stood to applaud every graduate. When Maya's name was called, the whole auditorium clapped. But Richard didn't clap. He cried. He cried silent tears, The kind that come from years of sacrifice, pain, and endless love. The kind that only a father like him could understand. Maya walked onto the stage, accepted her degree, then paused. Instead of walking off like the others, she turned to the microphone. "Before I leave this stage," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "I want to thank someone. A man most of you probably never noticed. A man who cleaned these halls every morning while you slept. A man who gave everything so I could stand here today." The crowd fell silent. "My father," she continued, "is sitting in the back of this room. Still in his janitor clothes. Still hiding from the spotlight. But I want everyone here to know, this degree belongs to him too." Gasps filled the room. Eyes turned to the back where Richard sat frozen, tears streaming down his cheeks. Maya walked off the stage and handed him the letter she wrote. He unfolded it with shaking hands. It read, "Dear Dad, every step I took in this university, I took with your strength. Every exam I passed with your sacrifice. Every morning I woke up, I remembered your words, education is your key. Today, I graduate not just as your daughter, but as the daughter of the strongest man I know. You mopped floors so I could reach for the stars. Now I want the world to know, your name belongs on this diploma too. Love, Maya." That day, Richard Johnson was no longer just a janitor. He was a father, a hero. And in the eyes of everyone who heard Maya's story, he became a symbol of love, humility, and unshakable determination. A local journalist later shared the story. It went viral. People around the world cried reading about the janitor who never gave up on his daughter. Maya went on to become a respected doctor, helping children from low-income families. She often said, "When I treat a patient, I see my father in each one. Because no one should be invisible. No one should be ignored." And Richard? He retired quietly a few years later. But the university made a special plaque in his honor, placed near the entrance where he used to clean every morning. It read, "In honor of Richard Johnson, a janitor by title, a father by love, a hero by heart."